Have you ever thought about how your emotional health connects to your spiritual health? Somebody cut you off in traffic and we're giving them the one-way signal, and it wasn't the one-way Jesus signal. I mean, in one breath we're telling somebody where to go, and the next breath we're saying, praise Jesus. It just doesn't add up. But in this series, we're going to help you to grow up emotionally so that you can grow up spiritually, because the two are connected together. Let's fasten our seatbelts for emotionally healthy spirituality. We're in a series at our church called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, and the idea is that our emotions connect to our spiritual life. If we're going to grow up spiritually, we've got to grow up emotionally and learn how to handle emotions like anger and jealousy and envy and pride, and how to respond, to conflict is a very important feature of growing up in our spiritual life. And so that idea is very pertinent to what we're facing right now. And last week I talked to you about how do you get through a wall when you come to this place in your life and you feel stuck and you feel like that you can't move forward. You feel like that there's something you cannot get past. And so today we're going to kind of piggyback on what we talked about last week. If you missed the message, you can go to our website, Sanctuary Church Louisville, and you can watch it, download our app. You can watch it on the app. But we're going to kind of share with you part two. And my wife, Marsha, will be coming up in a few moments and sharing some things that we have learned that have helped us to get through the wall of faith, and particularly like a wall that we're facing today in our country. Psalm 46, reading from the New International Reader's Version. God is our place of safety. He gives us strength. He's always there to help us in times of trouble. The earth may fall apart, the mountains may fall into the middle of the sea, but we will not be afraid. The waters of the sea may roar and foam, the mountains may shake when the waters rise, but we will not be afraid. God's blessings are like a river. They fill the city with joy. Because God is there, the city will not fall. God will help it at the beginning of the day. Nations are in disorder, kingdoms fall, but the Lord who rules over all is with us. Come and see what the Lord has done. And listen to this. He makes wars stop from one end of the earth to the other. He breaks every bow. He snaps every spear. He burns every shield with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I'm God." Be still and know that I'm God. The Lord who rules over all is with us. So we are facing a wall of crisis today in our country. And we've got a choice. We can either respond with panic or with prayer. We can respond with fear or we can respond with faith. And here's what a concept I want you to understand this morning, and Jesus spoke about it. A little bit of prayer can go a long way. A little bit of faith can make a huge difference. And here's how he said that. He said, if you and I have the faith of a grain of mustard seed, and you can barely see one of those, but it grows into something big and beautiful. He said, if we have the faith of a grain of mustard seed, we can say to a mountain, move from here to there, and nothing will be impossible to you. But notice how he used the word, if you say. So the power of what's coming out of our mouth can make a huge difference. Never underestimate what your little bit of faith can do. Never underestimate what your little bit of prayer can do. I mean, it's just like the light on my phone. I could be in a dark room, but I turn my phone on, and not only can I see to begin to get around in this dark room, but then the others who are with me, they can begin to see, and they begin to turn their lights on, and others begin to see, and it's like a ripple effect that happens. Don't ever, you might be discouraged, you might be down, but don't ever underestimate what a little bit of prayer coming out of your mouth can do. What a little bit of encouragement coming out of your mouth to somebody else, a text message, a Facebook invite. Never underestimate the power of that. in your life. Never underestimate what a little bit of generosity can do. We've decided since starting last Sunday, moving forward, as long as we're in this crisis and we cannot have on-site services, we've decided that we're going to give 10% of every offering that we take in. We took in almost $5,000 last Sunday, so we gave away $500 this past week. One of that was to a woman who is self-quarantined, and she's separated from her son, Ezekiel, who had to have a liver transplant surgery, and she cannot be with him during this time. I called her up on the phone yesterday and shared with her what we were going to do, and she was completely blown away. It was amazing. She's on with us today, and it's so wonderful, Amy, to have you online with us today. And we know that your son Ezekiel is going to be fine. I know that he's going to make it. And I know the Lord is going to make a difference in your life. Never underestimate what a little bit of generosity can do. No, we can't touch everyone, but we can love one person at a time. And you can love one person at a time. And that begins to have a ripple effect across the whole globe. Never underestimate what a little bit of prayer can do. Never underestimate what a little bit of faith can do. I want you to think about 3 words with me for a moment and imagine a triangle. So the triangle like this, and the 3 words are up, in, and out. Say it with me. Up, in, and out. And the up word stands at the top of the triangle. It stands for your personal relationship with God. The in stands for those connected close to you in your home, your immediate family, or if you're a single person, that friend in your life that you're the closest to. And then the outward represents the neighbors, the city, and the globe. Never underestimate what a little bit of prayer can do. I felt like that the Lord was saying that there's 3 invitations He's given us, and there's 3 challenges He's given us. It's not only an invitation, but it's a challenge. Did you know that people that, hyper stress is too much stress? But hypo-stress in the psychological world is not enough stress. Invitation only leads to consumerism. You are never going to get through your wall of crisis unless you challenge yourself. And Jesus always did that. He invited with grace, but He came with a challenge. Neither do I condemn you, He said, but now go and sin no more. So I believe that what I felt the Lord saying is, I'm challenging people all across the globe to meet me in prayer. That's the first idea. So the word up stands for when you wake up, pray. Notice I didn't say when you get up. Here's what I'm doing. When I wake up, I just start praying. And I try not to wake Marcia up. Somebody asked her the other day if she wakes up grouchy in the morning. She said, no, I just let him sleep. Notice how I did that, by the way. I could have reversed it, but I've learned in my older age, No, what I'm beginning to do is as I wake up, and I woke up, I don't know, between 6 and 6:30 this morning. And I began to pray, like in a whisper, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Let me share with you a concept of where I'm going with this. How we are responding right now to this crisis really is revealing our routine. Many of us are getting more ramped up. We are feeling more anxious, and we are feeling like I've got to get up, I've got to get going, I've got to do something. I got to make something happen. God is saying, I want you to slow down. Because when you say the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, I want to make you lie down in some green pastures. I want to lead you beside some still waters because I want to restore your soul. And though you may be walking through the valley of the shadow of death, I want to help you not to fear any evil because I want to be with you. I want my rod and my staff to comfort you. I want to prepare a table before you in the presence of enemies. I want to help you to forgive those people. Surely goodness and mercy is going to follow you all the days of your life, and you're going to dwell in my house forever. And it changes your mindset before you even get up out of bed. So I want you to try that. Instead, I was thinking about saying this, the upward stands for when you get up, pray. And what I'm learning to do is when I wake up, pray. I just start responding to God, and I just start, looking upward to Him. Instead of saying, good Lord, it's morning, I say, hello, Lord. Good morning, Lord. And then you know what happens? As I then get up, I kind of continue in that mode of operandi. It kind of helps me to stay in that, and I go and I make my coffee, and I listen to a worship song, and I pray some more, and I go and spend a little bit more time, and invest in that time alone with the Lord. Because let me tell you something. If I think that as we look at what's happening in our world, as we look at how it's affecting not only us but the people around us. Many people are living with a most heightened a sense of anxiety and fear and desperation and discouragement. And I got a great verse for you that relates to this idea of up, when you get up or when you wake up to pray. Jesus said this in Matthew 11:28-30. He said, it's one of my favorite verses. He said, come unto me and I'll give you rest. He said, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, because I'm gentle and I'm humble at heart, and you will find rest for your soul. And then I love this next line. He says, for my yoke is easy, and the burden that I give you to carry is light. It is absolutely amazing how it revolutionizes our disposition. When we wake up, we come to Him. So that's the first idea I want you to get. And then the N word stands for this, is to pray together as a family, or pray together with a friend if you're a single person. FaceTime them. This is an opportunity for those that we live with and those that we're closest to connect on a deeper level and a more intimate level, a more spiritual level. And many of us have thought that, well, I need to do that. I need to take time and pray, with that person in my home. This is an opportunity to do that. And it's not only an opportunity, it's an opportunity for breakthrough. A guy that's a spiritual coach for me, his name's Paul McConaughey. He shared with me how one-on-one time alone with God, one-on-one time prayer is more about us building intimacy with God. But together prayer is more about seeing breakthroughs happen in your relationship with God. There's a verse for that Jesus spoke about in Matthew chapter 18, verse 19, and he said it this way. He said that when two or more of you come together and make a prayer about something, this is quoted from the Message translation, by the way, but he said, when two or more come together and make a prayer about something, my Father goes into action. For where two or three gather in my name, I'm going to be there. Where one conquers 1,000, two conquers 10,000. There's something about when I pray and I wake up and I connect with God and I reach out to Jesus and I come to Him, there's an intimacy that He gives me. And it breaks all addiction. This is why it's been said that addiction is a search for intimacy. It's literally something's crying out within me saying, love me and pay attention to me. And if you're not going to love me and pay attention to me, then at least hit me with something that will numb me out. Addiction is a search and a longing for intimacy. As I begin to come to Jesus and connect with Him in a more intimate way, those compulsions cease. That need to go and fix something, it's gone. Because the yoke has become easy and the burden has become light. It's because I'm discovering my identity in Him as someone that He loves. And it makes all the difference in my search for meaning and fulfillment. Like the woman at the well who had had 5 husbands, the man she was living with wasn't her husband. And Jesus spoke to her in such kindness and connected with her on a spiritually intimate level. And it revolutionized the way she saw things. She went back to the village and said, come meet a man who's told me everything I've ever done. Her life was forever changed. And you can continue, for many years of my life. I've been a do-it-myself kind of guy, particularly even spiritually. And that's not bad, right? But as I began to take on this concept of building a team and bringing people around me and also empowering them to lead and also praying together, I've begun to see more breakthroughs happen in my life. Because where 2 or 3 of you come together, my Father in heaven goes into action. This is not only an opportunity in your home for you guys to come together and pray and be closer together. This is an opportunity to make a spiritual impact for the people that you're closest to in your family and to make an impact in the world right now. And we certainly need that. And then the outward stands for be a part of our online worship experience and invite others to join you. You know, I was thinking how, like this morning, I went through all my Facebook friends. I mean, they're probably like tired of me inviting them. But anyway, I've done it the past 2 Sundays. So this morning I got up, I got my coffee, and I went through every Facebook friend that I have, and I have over 1,000. And I just invite, hey, if you didn't get an invite, no worries. I'll try to invite you next week. No. And I was just thinking about this whole thing. What if we all did stuff like that? I mean, I've heard stories about people reaching out in ways they've never reached out before. And some of you, you're online today because somebody reached out to you and invited you to be on for this online worship experience. So the threefold idea that I felt like God was saying to us, for me to get across, He's inviting us to connect with Him personally when we wake up to pray. He's inviting us to come together as family and to pause, just to take a moment in your day and just say a sentence prayer. And He's inviting us to have an online worship experience and to be invitational and to be the light for other people, because a little bit of light from you can make a huge difference in somebody's life. We need to shine our light now. We don't need to shrink back. We need to shine out because people need it now. Because your little light shining into someone's life can make a huge difference in their life. And your little bit of perseverance can make a huge difference, because hope is on the way. But will you persevere and create a culture of hope to the people who are around you? In Hebrews chapter 10, I want to read this to you, and then my wife Marcia is coming up to share. This is so pertinent to what we are going through. Listen to this. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 32. Remember those earlier days after you received the light? And by the way, the author of Hebrews, no one knows for sure who it is. Some people think it was the Apostle Paul, maybe Peter. I think it was the Apostle Paul, but we don't know for sure. It's not mentioned. And he's writing to a group of Christians who've experienced some persecution and some suffering. Remember those earlier days after you received the light? You remained strong in a great battle that was full of suffering. Sometimes people spoke badly about you in front of others. Sometimes you were treated badly. At other times you stood side by side with people being treated like this. But you knew God had given you better and more lasting things. So don't throw away your bold faith. It will lead to rich rewards. You need to persevere, so that when you have done what God wants, you will receive what He's promised. In just a little while, He who is coming will come. He will not delay. And the one who is right with God will live by faith. But I take no pleasure in the one who shrinks back. But we do not belong to the people who shrink back and are destroyed. We belong to the people who believe and are saved. When a crisis hits, and how we react reveals what's on the inside. If you don't like what you see coming out, invite Jesus in to help you. Marcia's going to share a few things that have really helped her in her journey of faith, and I'll be back up.
I wanted to share a few things with you that have helped me in my journey. The first thing is to do the right thing, even if you don't feel like it. Feelings are important, but they're just the way we feel. It doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's important to feel what you're feeling, but we need to go past that and allow the Lord to work through us in spite of our feelings sometimes. What this looks like for me is that when I'm facing a wall, I just need to continue to pursue God. And that looks different for everybody. Sometimes you're so stuck, you can't, find the energy even to sit down and read the Bible or pray, because that's one huge way where the way to pursue God. But if you can't do that, there are all kinds of other ways that you can find your way to Him as you do the right thing. A few years ago, I found myself in a job where I was traveling a lot. I was on the road all week, and I spent 3 or 4 hours in the car, traveling often. And I just didn't have the time, and I needed God in my life, and I felt kind of removed. And so the Lord started showing me some different ways to really connect with Him. And one thing that I did was get some devotional CDs. And so I would start my time in the morning in the car just listening to teaching from the Bible, from different Bible teachers. And this was very uplifting for me. Then I would switch over to Sirius Radio and listen to and praise and worship while I was in the car. And then I would turn that off and I would pray for a little bit. So I spent a whole hour or two in the car connecting with God. Who would have thought that, traveling for hours on end, I thought it was going to be really, hard to do. And 3 hours went by just like that as I was connecting with God. And God used that time to draw me close to Him in a time where I might have, really slacked off. And so I think it's important that we continue to do the right thing, even when we don't feel like it, pursue God, and allow Him to help you through that wall. The second thing is that it is important to be honest with God. You don't have to pretend during this time that you're okay. I mean, a lot of us aren't okay. It's scary. We're frightened. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't have to pretend like we're okay. God already knows how we feel. So you don't have to go around trying to, act like you're okay or brave or whatever that word is for you. He can take whatever you're feeling. He understands. He's felt it before he walked on this earth, just like we did. He's felt all these feelings. He understands, and He can take it. This was longer than a few years ago. When I was 39 years old, I found out that I was pregnant with my third child. And we were very excited because we had dealt with infertility. We already had 2 children. We weren't trying to have a baby. We weren't expecting this to happen, but we looked at it as a great blessing, and we were very excited. Well, 12 weeks into that pregnancy, we lost it. And I just really was struggling, as almost all women do when they lose a pregnancy and lose a baby like that. And I got to the place where I was so angry because here I was, not really trying, and really I was okay before. But now here I am thrown back into all these feelings and all this emotion and all the pain of infertility and everything that goes with it. And I remember I actually lifted my fist to heaven and to God, and I said, God, I hate you for putting me through this. This is too hard, and this hurts too bad. As time went on, I continued to struggle a lot, and it was like these waves of pain, of a tsunami would just take me under to a place where it was scary. I wasn't even sure I could come back from that grief. And I found myself getting my other children up off to school and then going back to bed until the middle of the afternoon, and when I could finally function for the day. And you know, it really shook my faith, and it scared me. And with that same fist that I was raising to God, I reached up and I grabbed hold of a thread. And I said, Lord, I'm scared and I don't know if I can make it through this. I need you to deliver me. I need some supernatural intervention here. I need some supernatural healing from you. And what happened, he didn't say to me, oh, wait a minute. You said you were mad at me. I'm not going to listen to you now. That is not what God said to me. He said, I've got you. I knew all along, and I've felt it all along the same way you have. I've got you. You will be. I'm going to heal you. I'm carrying you through this. And through prayer, through reaching out, through godly counsel, the Lord did deliver me. So please be honest with God, because what you don't feel, he can't heal. And those feelings can get stuck inside of you and create a lot of harm. The third thing that I try to do is just to take the next step, whatever that looks like. It's really hard right now because we are real time trying to deal with a real crisis. And it's very hard to see the future through a crisis. It's almost impossible. We don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. We don't know how this is going to affect our lives, our economics, all of that. But the Lord does. That's where we can be strong. That's where we can have faith. The Lord does. And the thing is that all we got to do is say, Lord, what's next? Whatever you're facing, it's like, what's the next step? I don't have to figure out all the things that are going around me, because from now until, eternity, that's your job. You just show me what is the next thing I need to do and help me to take that next step. And this is called walking by faith and not by sight. This is where we give up control. And hey, I'm ready to give up control because I can't control this. I cannot. But I know that my God can. So walk by faith and just take the next step. And finally, the last thing I want to share with you is when you're really struggling at the wall, to get godly counsel, not ungodly counsel. We're all being bombarded every day with bad news, and it's overwhelming. It's important for me, at least. I mean, honestly, I don't even listen to the news right now. I tune into, I've got my sites that I tune into just to get the information that I need, that I want to know how we're doing. But I need to fill my mind and my thoughts with what God is saying. And that, for me, that means not letting all the bad news get in my head, and not to listen to everybody else's opinion about this. But if all of this is starting to overwhelm you and me, then it's important that we get counsel. But it needs to be counsel from someone that we trust, that we know is wise in the ways of God, and that can point us in the direction of faith, and can point us in the direction of inspiration and of walking out this journey together with God. And so if we don't do that, we're going to be alone. We're going to feel alone. This is where we start blowing up our life. If we don't seek the counsel, we start blowing up our life. We leave our marriages. We turn to substance for relief. We stay in bed all day, So we need the right kind of counsel, and it will connect us to faith, truth, the counsel that connects us to faith, truth, hope, and uplifts our soul. That is the counsel that we need. And whether that's professional or whether that's just a friend or your pastor, this is where we seek to hear truth and to be encouraged in faith. So want to encourage you guys, we're in this journey together, and we want to be here for you, and I'm grateful that you're here and we're able to share this with you. Thank you.
God is giving you and me the opportunity to respond differently. And yes, we may need to stock up on more toilet paper. Toilet paper is important, but we don't need to stock up on more toilet paper. We need to stock up on prayer. We need to stock up on God's word. We need to stock up on reaching out to other people. We need to stock up on a little bit of generosity. Because the Bible says about generosity, it says this: the generous prosper and are satisfied, and those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. It may feel like you have hardly anything that you can give, but there's a little bit of generosity you can give. And a little bit of generosity can go a long way. A little bit of prayer, a little bit of faith, a little bit of inviting can go a long way. The power of God is not to deny that bad things will happen. The power of God is to give us the grace when they do happen. And it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10, it says this: the Lord speaks and he says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Every hero of the faith, as you look at heroes of the faith and you fast forward on to Hebrews chapter 12, or Hebrews chapter 11, you can read about the heroes of faith. And many view God's calling to be a hero of faith. You can be a hero of faith by taking your cue from the hero of faiths of old. It was how they responded to the crisis. And here's how they responded. In the midst of a crisis, there was a call they felt from God. There was a call that they heard, and it might not have been audible. It might have been a message like what you're hearing now. They heard it. It was a call. And then from that call, as they stepped into that, there were challenges that they had to overcome. And they overcame them together. Don't isolate yourself. I mean, yes, we have to watch social distancing and so forth, but you can still stay connected, because where one conquers 1,000, two conquers 10,000, where two or three of you will come together and make a prayer of it, my Father in heaven will go into action, Jesus said. They had the call, they faced the challenges, but they overcame the challenges, and then they saw the completion. You need to persevere so that you will receive what will be promised. So the Lord is in the midst of this difficulty that we're facing. He's giving us an opportunity. The prophet Hosea said, quotes the Lord, and he says this: my people turn, but they don't turn upward. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed. Out of God's love, because love truly is a choice. How would you like it if I invaded your space and you didn't want me to? How would you like it if I knocked on your door right now, right? I mean, even in the midst of this, I was at my son's house the other day, and there was somebody like knocking on doors. I'm just like, what is going on, right? But I mean, here's my point. I can extend an invite to you, but how would you like it if you didn't really want that invite, but I just kept bugging you with it? How would you like it if you didn't want to enter into something, but I was invasive about it? And some of you have experienced that with people in your life. It doesn't feel very good, does it? And it's not very loving either, by the way. God has made the first move. Before we ever chose to love him, he loved us. And he continues out of love to give us the choice of whether we are going to turn in one direction or turn upward to him. He loves us so much. And with people, things are impossible, but with him, all things are possible. We have the opportunity right now to respond differently. You don't like what's been coming out? Invite Jesus in.